I'll see you again, mister.
Hello and welcome back to The Who Look, and with news that came out last week of Millie Gibson leaving the show, I thought I'd go through all the revival era companions and see why they left. I'm not going to be including one-off special companions, so actors like Lindsay Duncan and Kylie Minogue don't count as they were only contracted for the one episode they starred in. Billie Piper was the first actor to become a companion in the revival era of the show, and her stay lasted 2 seasons with 2 different doctors. When she left for new career opportunities as she found the fame of Doctor Who to be too much sometimes. She would later return in a recurring capacity in 2008 and a cameo scene in 2010. Billie would return in the 50th anniversary, but as the Moment instead of Rose. Bruno Langley was only on the show very briefly, appearing in 2 episodes as Adam Mitchell with the Ninth Doctor before returning into his own time. He was never a prop companion, but as he briefly travelled with the Doctor, it made sense to include him. The real life reason that he left was that he only signed up for 2 episodes. Even past this, it's unlikely that we'll see him again due to allegations that came out against him. His story was also expanded on in the 50th anniversary comic. John Barrowman joined the cast for 5 episodes towards the end of Series 1 as a guest companion. He was always due to leave at the end of the first series, but as the character was well received, he was given a leading role in the Torchwood spin-off, which lasted 4 seasons and a recurring role throughout the rest of the first Russell era, where he returned briefly in Series 3 for 3 episodes, and then Series 4 again, and then in 2010 as a cameo. He would later return in Series 12 for 1 episode, where he filmed scenes with the Doctor's current companions. He would later return 10 months later, with the Doctor this time, for the New Year's special. Although that was just over a year ago, he hasn't been seen since, and it's unclear if we'll ever see him again due to on-set allegations against him. Noel Clarke was a recurring character in the first series of the revival, before finally joining the team in the second season. He only lasted for 3 episodes before staying behind on the parallel world, writing out Noel's character for most of the rest of the season, before he finally returned for the 2-part finale. He would later return in 2008, and then a cameo again in 2010. The reason for his departure was the character was created as a side character for Rose Tyler, but with Billie leaving, the other characters related to her character were also written out. When it came to his 2008 departure, they left him in the main universe so that he could turn up again in the future. He was due to return for Tortured Children on Earth and Sarah Jane Adventures, but on both times he was unavailable to film. Just like John and Bruno, it's unlikely that we'll ever see him again due to allegations that came out against him. Freema Agyeman only signed up as a 1-series companion, so at the end of her first series, it was no surprise that she was written out. Martha was her second character in the show after portraying Martha's cousin who died in the Series 2 finale. She left the show on good terms with the intention of showing up in the universe elsewhere, which she did when she starred in a couple of episodes of Torchwood Series 2. She was also supposed to return for Torchwood Children of Earth with Noel Clarke and an episode of Sarah Jane Adventures, but both plans got scrapped due to conflicts. Her last appearance came in 2010 with a cameo with Noel Clarke. Catherine Tate was originally a one-off companion for the Doctor, where she was only supposed to be in the 2006 Christmas special before never coming back. However, when Russell was writing for a companion for Series 4, he started to write a new companion that was very much like Donna. And then when Catherine revealed how much she loved doing Doctor Who and how she'd like to return, Russell asked her if she wanted to come along full-time. She left after only 1 series though, because Russell's era was winding down. Catherine would later return 13 years later for the 60th anniversary as Donna to give the character a nicer send-off after Catherine and David had a conversation with Russell about both wanting to return as their characters. Bernard Cribbin should also be mentioned. Although he was a side character for Donna during Series 4, he appeared in multiple episodes as a friend of the Doctor, before officially becoming classed as a companion for the 2-part finale of the 10th Doctor. He would later return for a brief scene 13 years later, but his role was cut short due to his death. Karen Gillan was the first companion of the Matt Smith and Stephen Moffat era of the show. She lasted for 2.5 series before departing at the end of Series 7 Part 1. She was written out of the show after discussions between Karen and Stephen about it being the right time for Amy to leave. She would later return to make a cameo with Matt Smith moments before his regeneration into Peter Capaldi, where the Doctor remembered Amy as the first face that face saw. Arthur Darvill was written into the show to be the boyfriend of Amy Pond, but the Doctor had Rory join the TARDIS due to Amy's inappropriate behaviour towards him, considering she was just about to marry Rory anyway. He was written out of the show for similar reasons as Karen. He felt that it was the right time for his character to move on and for him to get new opportunities elsewhere. It also made sense that he was leaving, as him and Karen's characters were in a relationship in the show, so it made sense for them to leave together at the same time as well. Jenna Coleman featured in the show across 3 seasons. She first appeared in an episode as another version of Clara, whilst Amy and Rory were still travelling with the Doctor, to start the setup of her arc as the Impossible Girl, before joining as another version of Clara during the 2012 Christmas special, before starring as actual Clara from the start of Series 7 Part 2. Clara was meant to leave the show at the end of Peter Capaldi's first season on the show, but after the departure they decided to bring her back for one final season as they didn't feel that they wrapped up her story well enough. Her reasoning for finally leaving the show was that she felt that she shouldn't stay on the show for too long, as the show should be constantly evolving and a companion shouldn't stay around for too long. Matt Lucas's role in the show was similar to Catherine Tate's role. They both appeared in Christmas specials before being brought back as a companion for a series. Matt lasted 1 series as a recurring companion rather than a starring companion, before departing at the end of the series due to the new production team coming in for the reset. Pearl Mackie also only signed up for 1 series to wrap up the final year of Peter and Stephen's Doctor Who contracts, before the new production team came in to do the reset. She was the starring companion in the same series as Matt Lucas. Bradley Walsh was one of 3 actors to become companions at the same time. He was also the joint first actors to leave the show, as he found filming the show relentless and it took up a lot of his time during the year. And whilst it may be unrelated, by the time of him getting ready to leave, he received an offer for another TV show. It's no surprise that he left, especially with hosting a game show and doing the other TV series he does. Tosin Cole was also a companion who joined the show at the same time as Bradley Walsh and left at the same time as him, which makes sense considering they share a relationship with each other through Ryan's grandmother and Graham's wife Grace. Tosin's never given a proper reason why he left the show, so it's unknown why he was written out. It could be to do with Bradley leaving the show, or it could be down to the fact that when his final series started airing, he got announced as a lead character on an American show. Amanda Gill joined the cast at the same time as Bradley and Tosin, but she lasted the whole of the 13th Doctor era, compared to the other 2 who only lasted 2/3. The only reason that she left the show was because Russell's production team was returning to the show and they were doing another reset. However, she has suggested that she isn't done with the world and she would love to return in the future if anyone wants her to return. John Bishop joined the TARDIS team for Series 13, Flux, and the 2022 specials. His final appearance was at the end of Chris and Jodie's run. However, he departed earlier than expected, saying goodbye at the beginning of the episode. The reason for him leaving was also because of the production team coming back and Russell doing the reset, but he left earlier in the episode because he had a tour commitment that he had to fulfill. And then obviously we get to Millie Gibson, who I recently did a video about leaving. Whilst there's no official information on why she's left here, all we have to go on so far is what the source said of Russell wanting to keep things moving, which makes sense considering the amount of companions that Russell had in his first era of the show. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.